People are harshly critical of power, which is a good thing. It is government's fault every time a young person gets ready to leave the house, but all the houses are too expensive. It's the government's fault every time, some boomer who put their whole life savings into a house loses a big chunk of their life savings. It's the government's fault every time a new high-rise ruins the view for a lovely hiker. It's the government's fault every time, a contractor wants to build something, but their permits get blocked and their company faces challenges from that. All those problems are the government's fault, and a lot of the problems we face are going to be in some way largely the government's fault. But the problem in those examples that I gave is that they all have to do with housing, and they're all mutually exclusive. You can't solve the housing crisis for our young guy without building. You can't build without bothering the hiker. You can't build without getting your permits. You can't dramatically increase housing supply without driving down housing costs. The problem that we run into when we have an entity that takes on so much responsibility is, I like to call it the Imperial Burden, is that, if there's a drought and everyone starves, it's your fault for not stockpiling grain. And if you stockpile grain and bugs get to it and eat all of it, it's your fault for not protecting it well enough. And if you invest too much in your grain surpluses, such that everyone's quality of life is diminished and no tragedy comes and that surplus is never used, it's your fault for wasting all those resources. The Imperial Burden is that, the world is of entropy. Everything is falling apart permanently, perpetually. Everything is decaying. And someone has to take responsibility for things, and things decay. Everyone's going to die, and everything is going to go to dust. And it's all the fault of whoever takes responsibility for it. And if you want a good government that takes a lot of responsibility, if you want a good anything, the more responsibility you take, the more at fault you are, and the nature of the universe is to decay. So your job is to build and know that everything you build is dying, and to build faster than things die, and to make clear what's dying and tell people to get the fuck out, What can we take away from this? What can we learn from this? There's a few things that are interesting that we can dance around. Is like a prescription is, a town is like everything else. It lives, it grows, it decays, and it dies. And that cycle is a natural cycle, right? You strike gold somewhere and a town springs up around the gold drains out and the town goes away. Building up that town back from decay to life, when the thing that motivated its life, when the engine isn't there anymore, is a Sisyphusian task. It'll never work, right? You can't, and maybe you can revitalize one town by spending a disproportionate amount, by incentivizing people to move in, but you can't revitalize the entire Midwest. And the prescription, and really, I think it's the responsibility of leadership to say these things out loud. I think the reason that they've lost so much trust is because they've lied. It's a lie to say we're going to revitalize the Midwest. What people do is they'll say that, and then they'll do a policy they know won't work, and then they'll say, well, I did this policy. I spent $1 billion. Isn't that good enough? Isn't that good enough? I threw $1 billion into the furnace of the dying thing. I put flowers all over its corpse. Isn't that good enough? They'll lie, right? You need to say, like, if you're in a dying-ass town, you can chill if you want, but it's going to be more expensive and your quality of life is only going to get worse, and there's nothing we can do for you, and there's nothing anyone can do for you. Or you can move to where there's opportunity, and you should tell your kids to do that. You should motivate them to. And the government should subsidize movement of people wherever we can. Things grow, things die, and we take responsibility. It's important to remember that that's true, right? Is when we're criticizing the government. The criticism is good, because it's a steering wheel, right? Like, you use it, and then you move towards not making the same mistakes again. But eventually we run out of low-hanging fruit, and there's a level of gratitude that's missing. You can criticize and have gratitude. You can criticize and accept. And you shouldn't, limit your criticisms, and you shouldn't blunt your attacks. But behind those attacks is a anger and a ferocity which motivates them, which is good that it motivates them, but it also erodes the soul of the person doing it. It erodes and it erodes and it erodes and it erodes and it erodes. And if you scream every single day at a decent enough government that there's nothing good about it and that it's irredeemable, and you give criticisms that don't have solutions, and you just scream every day, government bad, government bad, government bad, government bad, the government's going to try one thing, it's going to try another thing, it's going to try a third thing, it's going to fail to resolve your criticism of it being bad, and then it's going to start ignoring that criticism. And then we start to find out what actual bad government looks like. And I think that's close to what's happening today, is that if you go back to the golden era, this relates, I'm still thinking about that last video I just did, if you saw my last one, but if you go to 2012, the golden era of politics, and you have Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, two of the most capable, competent, virtuous politicians we've ever had, and you ask people, what do you think of politics? Politicians, that's as corrupt as a sneaky snake. If I had a lawyer and a politician and a sneaky snake, I'd line them all up and shoot the lawyer and the politician because they can't be trusted. No, because they're bad. We do these bits about lawyers, and it's like, okay, whatever. The lawyer, you can do whatever bit you want about them, but at the end of the day, you'll call them someday and you'll need them, and you'll be able to work that out. But the politician lives and breathes and relies on public trust. And when you have someone or a group that's led, because Obama and Romney reflect the virtue of their party, they reflect the fact that their party is dominated by people who want to see men like Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. When you tell those great men, like, there's nothing, not only not good enough, great men can hear they're not good enough. They know, right? There's nothing confusing about that. Like, yeah, we know we're not good enough. We'll do better. We'll always do better. The path is endless. But if you say there's nothing good about you, and you say you're corrupt and evil, you're like, well, what can I do that's not corrupt and evil? Nothing. It's like, they're desperately searching. How do we make things right? How do we make things right? How do we make things right? And there's no answer. There's no answer. There's no answer. And not the best of them, not the champions, not Mitt Romney and Obama, who obviously are not going to fall into these traps anytime soon, but the people they inspire to follow them, they're going to look up at their leadership and they're going to say, what's waiting for me at the pinnacle? What's waiting for me at the horizon? Ridicule and belittlement and nothing good, no high praise. Oh, what if I lie to people? Oh, lying to people is the only thing that works. I see. Oh, and what if I follow radical lunatic politics? Oh, radical lunatics. That gets people going. People like that. It's not good. It's not good. So, remember what we had, okay? We'll need to. And just trying to wrap things up is we can be as ferociously critical as we want, but we remember that we criticize things that we love, right? Like, there's a lot of problems with, the rules of toboggan racing, I'm sure. Like, oh, maybe the game would be more fun if the toboggan was a little bigger, all right? But I don't give a fuck, right? I'm not going to yell and scream and kick my feet because I don't give a fuck about toboggan racing. We criticize, things that we care about. And we care about our society, and we care about our state, we care about our government, we care about these great United States of America. But behind those criticisms can't be an endless pit of misery and hatred and disgust, right? It has to be criticize, love. You could also, this whole thing, okay, it's also an analogy for your relationship. Be nice to your partner. It's also an analogy for America, because America is your partner, okay? You love America. If I could marry America, okay? A little bit of an age gap, but that's okay. It's a young country. It's young in America. It's young in, like, state years. All right. That'll be that one.